Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. I am Dom DiTolla, along with my co-host, Chris Quinn. And today, this one's for the ladies.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. We are not only doing an episode on a female athlete again, we are also doing our first track and field episode of the Sports Experience Podcast.
That's right. We're getting into this Olympic hero.
Olympic hero, a departed Olympic hero.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Florence Griffith Joyner, everybody, who was a very good track athlete.
Yeah. Nickname Flo-Jo. That's how I always...
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't even know what her real name was until I was probably like 16.
Exactly.
But Florence Griffith Joyner, born Florence Dolores Griffith in December 21st, 1959 in the California, Los Angeles area.
L.A. L-L-L-A. That's what I just say.
She was the seventh of 11 children.
I was going to say she had a huge family.
I mean, her mother's nether regions were putting in work.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 11? Jeez Louise.
I mean, I'm not even going to make a joke because it's so many fucking kids. That's all I got to say. It's just so many kids. And to feed that many kids. My wife was talking about this where she had 4 siblings. And she was like, I was the 5th. At that point, it was just kind of like, oh, they're just going to throw some M&Ms in there and be like, you got to survive on your own. Like,
my mom was 7 out of 8 growing up. Yeah. So it's not ideal.
No.
I mean, you got to fight for everything, especially, Yeah.
And she actually grew up in a really tough neighborhood of Watts.
Oh, yeah. Florence. Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Not my wife.
Oh, I was going to say. But luckily she has sports as the outlet. And you see that a lot with athletes too, is even if they're in disadvantaged situations, a good way out or a good way to pass the time and ignore all the crap going on is sports.
Yeah, this is during the heroin epidemic. So there was what she said. I mean, what people say when they go back and look at her upbringing was she grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods, but what she said was she didn't realize that it was so bad when she was growing up because she was so happy with her family. And I think that has to be a testament to this sports and this camaraderie that this community had with track and field at the time and other sports, because she really grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in a heroin epidemic in
crack. Yeah.
Heroin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heroin at the time. Crack is the 80s. Yeah.
Yep.
But you're absolutely right. And she falls in with the Sugar Ray Robinson athletic organization.
Yep.
And finds that she's pretty good as a runner.
Well, I mean, the Sugar Ray Robinson is a track and field for underprivileged kids to try and get them out of their, horrible neighborhoods.
And not to win gold medals or, dominate the landscape like she did, just something to help them.
Exactly. And she ended up winning the national championships, I believe.
14 and 15.
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure all of the track and fields, community was looking at her like, whoa, this woman could go on and become something great,
Oh, totally. And she went to Jordan High School, finished 6th in the state in the 100 meters. So, she's a budding track athlete, but she's setting school records in sprinting and in the long jump. She really has a path towards college, for lack of a better term, through athletics.
So in 79, she attends UCLA.
No, she went to CSUN first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Cal State, and then Northridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she gets a scholarship where she meets one of her longtime coaches, Bob Kersey.
Okay, yes.
And while she was at CSUN, her team won the NCAA title, the team title for track and field, which I did not know that.
Yeah, as a freshman, she went on and won that. And then this is what I found so interesting. Her sophomore year, she decided to drop out.
Because she needed to support her family,
yes.
Not because she wasn't on the team and wasn't any good. It's just, you got 11 kids and you got to feed them.
So she becomes a bank teller and a hairstylist.
Yeah, and the hairstylist is important, as we'll get to later, as far as her image and the fashion she brings to track and field. She's not out there looking like Babe Diedrichson Zaharias. She's out there looking smoking.
Well, I just find it so interesting that we could have lost out on these world records because she literally could have stopped running at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? Nobody would have ever blamed her for that.
No, not at all.
She would have built a terrific life for herself.
Yes.
Supported her family and been like, you know what, looking back, thank you, Sugar Ray Robinson organization. I mean, like, honestly, because, you know, maybe over time she would have gone back to school and gotten a degree and moved up in the banking world or whatever. But luckily, Bob Kersey finds out about this situation. And ends up finding her financial aid to go to UCLA, where he's currently coaching. And that resuscitates her entire career and takes it off of basically not running.
Essentially she was done running. If you can believe this, in 1978, 79, she essentially retires from running. I mean, I bet she still did it in part-time, but you're not going to be working I don't know if it was 2 full-time jobs, but 2 jobs and being able to compete at the level that she needs to compete at.
That, like, having to juggle stuff like that has to be just so mentally exhausting. Not even physically, but just like, well, I woke up at 5 today and I had to try and cash some checks.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I mean, and then I have like a 4-hour workout after work.
Yes.
Like, it's so taxing.
Yes. You're right.
And it really
mentally.
Yeah, and it really speaks to her character.
Yes.
That even she would make that decision, but then have a second chance and take total advantage of it.
Yes.
But in 1980, a couple of her old high school rivals, including Angie Brown, whose teammates at UCLA, I believe.
Yes.
They qualified for the 100 meters in the upcoming 1980 Moscow Olympics.
But we decided as a country that we were going to forego these Olympics.
Goddamn commies.
Well, and it's interesting because I think they said 62 countries didn't go.
Well, and you look forward to 84, and the Soviets and all their satellites told America no.
Yes.
Like, there's a great Simpsons reference to it where Krusty Burger was going to give away free Krusty Burgers to people if the Americans won these events, but they were all Soviet-dominated events in 1984, and when they don't show up, and he's like, I'm taking a bath on this! And Homer's just like, he's like surrounded by a mountain of Krusty Burgers.
Well, it really is, yeah. So we see the United States and the Western Bloc of our crew.
Yeah,
we were like, hey, we're not going to go to the 80 Olympics.
The good guys in Red Dawn.
Exactly, Wolverines. And then they were like, hey, we're not going to go to the 84, which it makes sense to the craziness of international politics.
It does, yeah. But and while FloJo went on to greater success in future Olympics, I can't imagine how it felt for people who were in their prime and like 1980 was their year as Americans being told no.
I was going to say, she definitely, I don't think would have won any gold medals in 1980 if she won.
No, I mean, she was like
third or fourth,
last in her heat to like qualify. I was going to say, for the team.
I don't know how many people qualify for the 100, but I think she was the last one to qualify.
Yeah, she was out of like 4 different women. Yeah. I mean, she's like we were talking about before. She's on the team. She's an Olympic athlete.
Yes,
but nobody sees what's coming over the next few years. And in 1980, she's 21 years old too, so she's not at her physical prime peak yet. But and kudos to her. I just wanted to mention. She did finish her degree in 1983 from UCLA.
Yeah,
got a psychology degree. Yeah. Which kudos to her.
Yeah, I always like that, and especially the hard work that she puts in everywhere in life. Yeah, that's why you just have to. And we'll bring it up later with her fashion and all of her shit.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, and we had talked about it before, is that she's still working. Like, she's not even training full time. No. And I know we brought this up in the Duke Kahanamoku episode. The Olympics is a total effing farce. That you have to stay an amateur to compete.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Outside of the dream team, which, good God, that was awesome.
And we see how awesome that was.
Yeah, but the whole thing is like, oh, you can't be a professional, you can't earn money, and it's like, well, I have 10 other siblings and a mom.
Yeah,
like, I mean, you're just expected to train and live like shit, or I shouldn't say shit, but live in poverty essentially.
Yes. Well,
through no fault of your own.
I was going to say not make money off of this thing that you're pretty much sacrifice your whole life for.
And it's like the NCAA with all their bullshit.
Yes.
Like you're not able to make money off of your likeness. You're not able to stuff like that is just total garbage. But this is the time period that it's taking place in.
So, well, let's talk because no Olympics in 80, 83. She qualifies for the 84 Olympics.
Which is in LA. I mean, homecoming for her.
Yeah. And that's why I think she gets a silver because I don't think she's training at the level she needs to train at this point.
Yeah.
But I bet it's such a great feeling of like running in your home stadium.
You're at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
I mean, you're running around the track at the Coliseum and you get a silver medal in the 84 Olympics in the 200 meters.
Yep.
I mean, that had to be just amazing for her and amazing for her team, amazing for her coaches, amazing for her family, like just incredible. And she's styling hair and,
working at
helping
a bank.
people with banking needs.
Well, this is the big thing is post 84, they were asking her what she thought her running career was going to be. Mm-hmm. And she kind of scoffed it off. Like, I don't know. I'm going to work at my bank job tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I'm a star now. It was more like I'm going to live my regular life.
Yeah.
Like you're doing.
I'm going to go home and then see if my family needs anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that kind of her working these regular jobs all kind of stops 85, 86, when she meets Al Joyner.
Who won the Olympic gold medal in 84. And
was it for the long jump or
long
triple?
Jump.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a long jump.
I wanted to write it down because I couldn't remember if it was long or triple.
And oddly enough, whose sister, Jackie Joyner Kersee, is married to her former coach, Bob Kersee.
Yep.
Which is like straight out of left field weird. But I shouldn't say weird, but just like, I guess everybody in the track world runs together, I guess.
Exactly. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
But this allows her to quit her jobs and fully focus in on running.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my husband's also a track athlete. My coach is the husband of that guy's sister. Like, I don't have to do nails. I can do nails whenever I want.
Yes.
Fuck the bank.
Exactly. Well, and this is what she said was, this is what changed in her buildup was she didn't have to work an 8-hour day job. Kersee went from her main coach to her like part-time coach, and Al Joyner became her full-time coach.
Yeah. And
she said that really was what changed her entire running.
Yeah, because she can do it now all the time.
Yeah,
she doesn't have strings attached.
And we see the improvement from the 84 Olympics
Good Lord,
to the 88 Olympics.
Oh, my God.
But this is what because we're going to bring up other stuff, but this is what they attribute it to is she's finally able to run all day, and she was finally able to practice with Joyner, her husband, who they focus more in on the 100 and the
sprinting. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And
she at 27 in 1987 is when she finally does this full time.
Yeah.
Most people who are doing Olympic training full time are in their late teens.
Exactly.
Which is crazy to think. God. But she really starts turning it on once 1987 happens because at the 1987 Grand Prix, she ran a 10.96, which wasn't a world record or anything, but you finally start seeing her times change.
It was her personal record.
Yeah, her personal record.
And that's so we're going to bring up this time again. So this is in 87. She runs 10.96. Mm-hmm. And literally like 6 months later, they have the qualifying for the Olympics.
In Seoul, yeah.
And I think she runs something like a 10.61.
Well, she ran a 10.49.
49.
She ran 3 races where it was 10.49, 10.61 in the finals. Hey, everybody. Just want to take a quick break to let you know that our Sports Experience podcast is brought to you by Engle Studio here, and they're here in Tucson for all your recording needs.
And there's controversy with this because
they said wind aided her on that 10.49
because the wind thing that was supposed to register it was, and if you have 5 miles drag, you're supposed to not race.
Yeah.
Everybody that's looked back at the videos has said that there's no way that they had 5 miles of drag, but because of the malfunctioning equipment, they can't go in and say that it was a for sure time.
Yeah.
So they put a little
It was like
asterisk.
Duke in the Ocean where they wouldn't let
Yes,
him. Yeah,
exactly. No,
almost the same
exactly.
thing, yeah.
Yes. And people were literally, it's really funny because if you watch the race, the commentators are like, oh, I don't know. I think the heat is malfunctioning the equipment out there because they couldn't believe that she ran that fast.
Well, and it's so mind-bendingly weird for her to shave off half a second.
Yes.
In that amount of time.
Yes.
I mean, granted, we talked about the steady progress. This is astronomically like incredible progress.
This is unheard of.
Yeah.
And that's when the rumors start.
The rumors start. And even in this qualifying, because she does the 100 and the 200, she sets the American record in the 200 with a 21.77 seconds.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
Yes.
And she wasn't even sniffing these times before.
No, that's the thing is she was not winning these races, let alone getting close to the world records.
No,
That's where people. So if you take the Joyner side of the story, they're like, hey, she was finally able to train full time. If you take this other side of the story in the Seoul
Which
Olympics,
will go into the Seoul Olympics where people were taking, well, let's just say they're taking stuff for not humans.
Not humans. Yeah, that's a cute way to say, non-human drugs.
Yeah, non-human enhancing drugs. But she's on top of the world right now.
Yes.
And in late July of 1988, right before the Seoul Olympics, she left Bob Kersey as her coach.
Yes.
And the reason she did that was he also, with all of the people that he trained, he was their manager. And she didn't like that aspect. She liked him as a coach, but she wanted to go off on her own and go with her husband and do more marketing opportunities, make more money, like put herself out there, become a famous Olympian, not just an Olympian.
Well, I feel like she wanted more control over her likeness.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but Bob probably, because this is what we were talking about before, was like if you wanted to train with him, he had to be your manager, which is really stupid and messed up. But if you have that kind of clout, you can see why that happens.
Oh, completely. And so she just hired her husband as her coach.
Which is good.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, get that personal attention from the guy you're married to. But the Seoul Olympics are where she really started kicking some ass.
Oh, it's wonderful. And, well, let's talk about her fashion here for a second.
Yeah, let's get into her fashion because we mentioned she was a hairstylist.
Yep.
She was very A, she was very attractive, but B, she brought a lot of awesome fashion to stuff we see nowadays in track and field.
Well, it's so interesting because if you look down the line of these track and field athletes, every single one of them has their hair plastered to their head.
Yep.
They don't have any fingernails, and they really don't have any clothes that stand out.
They don't have any swag is what they don't have at this time.
And she has all of it.
All of it. She showed up in almost a speed skater outfit once.
Yep.
Like with the head or hair under the thing.
And then she was notorious for having her hair loose.
Yeah.
Which people still talk shit on.
They talk shit, but it's like, man, that is awesome.
It was such a great look.
And she brought the tights and the spandex. She was doing that back in high school.
The one leg.
Yeah, the one leg cut off,
yep.
With the camel toe showing kind of,
Well, hey, man, she was beautiful, so I can't even deny that. But
hell no.
It was such a great thing for track and field. Like we see these athletes transcend their sport. She is that.
Oh, yeah, not only from a talent perspective, but from an image perspective.
Exactly.
And you saw, like, at the Olympics, there were in '88, they were talking about how she had 4-inch nails, 6-inch nails.
Nobody was doing that in track and field.
Nobody was doing that stuff. They said
so great.
They were tiger striped at first, and then she put them in fuchsia, and then red, white, and blue. That's pretty awesome. And, you kind of find your niche. It's like, oh, I know who that is. That's the lady who wears those clothes and is blowing everybody out the water.
Yes.
But,
So let's get into Seoul, man, because this is where it all goes down. So first race, 100 meter.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so interesting because I watched this thing where this guy broke it down, and he's like, so everybody pretty much has the same start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She didn't blow anybody away with her start. Everybody's pretty much at that same point.
Yeah.
About 10 paces into it, she blows people away in such a way that she essentially takes point 0.3 or 0.5 whatever seconds off of their time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like she beat Evelyn Ashford's record by 0.3 seconds.
By 0.3 seconds.
Running at 10.54.
It's insane.
And she was running, 10.99 maybe a year ago.
That's where
that's when the questions start.
Yes.
And then in the 200 meters, she also wins the gold medal.
Almost a better time, I would say.
Yeah, 21.34 seconds.
Yep.
And then she wins gold again in the 4x100 and then silver in the 4x400.
Yes.
The 88 was her Olympics. The 88 games are known as the track and field Olympics. Maybe not for the best of reasons, though.
Yes. So let's get into this. So Ben Johnson, who was
Canadian sprinter,
and we were talking about him before when he finished his race, and I forget exactly what his time was, like 9.86 or something. 9.91.
It was something absurd.
Yes. He looked like he didn't just run a race.
No, he looked like he was looking for the popcorn guy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because most guys, you see Usain Bolt, he finishes a race and he's all stoked. That's all adrenaline.
Yes.
Almost all runners have that. Inside, you're feeling like, my God, I just exhausted my body to a certain extent that, like, after this, I'm going to go, take a nap in the locker room for 3 hours after I'm done with the media shit.
Yes. Ben Johnson looked like he just walked in the room and was just like, hey, we getting pizza? All right.
Ben Johnson looked like a guy who was taking horse steroids because he was taking horse steroids.
Yes.
Like, he looked like a goddamn horse out there.
It was crazy.
But and you look at his eyes, too. I mean, you look at it, and they're like almost glassed over and all bloodshot. Like, you didn't know what he was taking, but you knew he was taking something to do something that monumentally crazy.
And so Ben Johnson commented on FloJo's cutting her time down so fast, and that he commented on something like, nobody could do that naturally.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that sucks is, if you know anything about steroids, I bet it's easier to identify. So, like, I bet he could look at it and be like, oh, that looks like steroids. Even though they never train together, they don't have any relationship. You know what I mean? Like, this is just him looking at it like we're looking at it.
Yeah, you start asking questions because of that rapid improvement.
Yes.
And while accusations aren't cool, in the back of your mind, you're going like, okay, well, what's going on right now? And we had talked about this previously. I know, and we've even done drugs in baseball, especially steroids episodes, is baseball had a drug problem. Track and field is probably the top sport with doping issues, as far as performance-enhancing doping issues.
Especially in this era.
In this era, too. This is the Wild West. I mean, this is just like, can they catch it? Nope. Gimme.
So, and I want to bring this up because athletes were caught.
Athletes were, they started getting. Ben Johnson was caught.
Ben Johnson was caught.
They took his gold medal away.
Exactly. So the Olympic Committee came out and said, because they were so aware that doping was so prevalent, they aggressively...
Yeah, they went after her hard as far as testing her before the games.
Yes. So they came out and said they didn't test anybody as rigidly as they tested her. And, like, it wasn't even... Because a lot of the time you'll find trace elements of stuff where they can't suspend people, but it's almost obvious that they took it. They came out and said that, like, there was nothing, not even trace elements, nothing connected her with performance enhancing.
Yeah, and the guy said after she died, who was in charge of the U.S. doping, was like, no, we tested nobody harder, and there was no trace evidence.
Nothing.
Yeah, and whether she was taking something that wasn't detectable.
Yes, so that's...
I'm more inclined to believe her and her husband's side of the story
too.
On this, because she wasn't running track full time.
Yes.
Do you question how rapidly she improved? Of course you do. You would do that for anybody, but if she's peeing in a cup more than everybody else and there's no false positives or anything, there's just nothing, then you have to go with what the evidence is.
Yes, that was my big thing, was with the Olympic Committee literally saying, like, we aggressively tested her.
Yeah.
Like, there shouldn't have been a time, and this is before testing was super advanced. This is before cycling was super advanced.
Exactly.
So it's hard to say that she would be able to dodge all of those.
Yeah, and if they're doing that to you more than anybody else, and they're also catching people,
yes,
they're catching your competition too, then you're like, okay, well then I have no other choice than but to believe you.
Yeah, that's my take. Is I always, for my opinion, I would say that FloJo definitely did these Olympics clean.
Yes, absolutely.
For my opinion.
No, and I am in complete agreement, but there was also some smoke. A former teammate named Jarrell Robinson said he got $2,000 worth for 10 cc's of HGH, and the reasoning was if you want to win 1 million, you got to invest in some thousands. And this is a story in which he was paid $25,000 as a tell-all.
Yep.
There's no actual evidence linking anything to this, and he was basically blackballed from the Olympic community because he tried to take FloJo down when there weren't any tests and he had no evidence.
And his, I read something else about this, was the time he said that this happened was easily proven that it wasn't. And then he tried to like change. You're like, oh, it must have been April 14th, or you know what I mean? So his story was very, very shady with a bunch of holes. So again, I got to say FloJo was the clean and without a doubt the fastest woman alive.
Oh, yeah, for an extended period. I mean,
multiple world records.
Yeah, and in 1988, she won the James Sullivan Award as the top amateur athlete.
Which I hate the fact that she's an amateur athlete.
No, she is a professional athlete. But
in 88, she retires from. So after she wins all this gold, all this.
Yeah, because she's 29 years. She's going to be 29 years old. I mean, that's kind of outside the window, especially if you're a sprinter.
And what I heard, and this is something I love from her, she was just like, I'm going to make money now. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to stop being an amateur, and I'm going to try and rake all the money I can. And she did.
She did not only through fashion. I mean, she designed the Indiana Pacers new logos.
And I love those uniforms. They're very
with the shadowed lettering and everything, and the stripes. Like, it's so nice, 1990s.
Yes,
I love it. I absolutely love them.
The opposite of those teal Pistons jerseys. Come on, people.
And LJN Toys made a Barbie figure after her, like a Barbie-like figure after her.
I guess she made like millions of dollars on endorsements in Japan too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to do a Japanese commercial.
Oh, man, that's where you go to rake in the dough and hope nobody ever sees it.
No, nobody will, which is one of the funniest things is when you go to a foreign country and you see like somebody and you're like, I've never seen this commercial.
What are they advertising?
Yeah.
Oh, man. But no, she, was raking in all this dough. She's an icon, essentially. She's not only she's an athletic icon, not just a track and field icon. And everybody knows her name. I mean, it's not like she just stepped away from the sport entirely and just like hid. She was out in the open, just like, hey, I'm living the second act of my life right now.
No, she was definitely living her best life. And the thing that I hate was every time I would research her there was almost this shadow over her Olympic achievements because of everybody else. So she literally gets guilty by association.
Exactly. And that's what always kind of, and particularly in this sport,
is
that there's always questions about everybody.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, no matter how successful you are, it's like, is that person on drugs?
Yeah.
But
for me, no. I'm going to say it again.
No, I don't do drugs. So.
Yeah.
But in 1996, though, she wanted to plan a comeback.
I know.
And her husband, too.
Yeah, they were both going to try and do him for the long jump, her for the 400
meters.
Yeah.
Because she said she had already dominated. She had already climbed the mountain in the 100. She had already climbed the mountain in the 200. And now it's time to sweep all three.
Yep. And then injury comes in. And I heard that she actually was having seizures, too.
Yeah, this is when kind of the seizures start, and we'll get into that later. She had tendonitis in her right leg, and Al had a quadriceps injury.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been cool, though, if she had competed, because that was the year they were in Atlanta.
Yeah. No, that would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm. And that's the Olympics where her sister-in-law also dominated as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Awesome.
I think she did like the pentathlon or something.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of sprinting and jumping events. So, yeah, she definitely, after her career, I mean, that was kind of the end of her track running. And she had a daughter in 1990. I mean, she's kind of settling into the new part of her life.
Yeah, almost like a celebrity. I mean, she did some acting and a lot of fashion, which makes so much sense because she was, I mean, just look at her. She was beautiful. She dressed awesome.
And inducted into the Track and Field Hall of Fame in 1995. I mean, it was, things were looking up for her.
Yeah.
Things were really looking up as far as just her life in general, even without track.
Yeah.
And then
September 21st, 1998, Al Joyner ends up finding her dead in bed.
She died in her sleep. Yeah,
of an epileptic seizure. I know I said that word. Awesome.
Yeah, in Mission Viejo. Yeah, so which is outside of LA.
Yes. Yes. Super sad.
It's really sad, and nobody knew about that she was having seizures at that time, but apparently they were happening more frequently.
More frequent, yes.
And they found her dead in her bed. She just went to sleep and never woke up.
Never woke up. Yeah, it's definitely sad.
And they said during the autopsy, they said they only found acetaminophen from like Tylenol and Benadryl in her system. So it's not like she was using drugs or anything like that. It was just seizure took her out.
Yep.
Which is a very, very tragic way to go and leave a widower and a younger child behind. Yeah. And but her impact towards track and field, as far as dominating the image of a track and field athlete,
yes,
that I think people will look and know what record she set, but everybody will know who she is because of what she looked like and what she brought to the sport. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know I've said this before, but she's definitely an athlete that reverberates past her sport. And we'll hopefully start looking at her in a better light, because the shit about the doping just kind of needs to go away, because it just never...
And honestly, I wasn't even too familiar with it until we started researching it, because I always just assumed she was on the level because there was nothing connected to her other than rumors. Other than bullshit rumors that can't be substantiated.
The only thing connected was Fleetwood Mac. So hey everybody, this is just a stock message at the end of every episode. We hope you enjoyed whatever athlete and or team that episode was about. Just want to say, give us a quick follow on all social media. We have a YouTube channel, the Sports Experience Podcast, and we're on Instagram, DiTolla Dominic, and myself, C. Quinn Comedy. So give us a follow all around. We're always recording right here at Engle Studio. Thank you all very much.